What is going on YouTube? It's Larry Lursey. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to look at another one of the features in Photoshop's 2021 update, and that is the neural filters. Now this one is really interesting. There are a lot of things in this, and it's even got some beta features that are coming, and it even shows you some things that are down the line that aren't even to the beta stage yet, but kind of gives you an idea of the pipeline of things that are coming through in some future Photoshop updates, and it's really pretty exciting. A lot of them are in very primitive stages right now, and the results can be hit or miss, but I think you can see the basic tools that are there are going to be really powerful, and I'm going to try and show you how to use some of these neural filters. If you're not already a subscriber, I would love it if you take a second to subscribe. We've got some great videos coming up. You want to make sure that you ring the bell so that you know when new content is coming out, because we've got a bunch of these videos coming out over the next few weeks, and I think you're going to really love them. So let's jump into the neural filters, and it's time to roll the intro. Alright, so when we jump right in here, we're going to have our filters panel off here to the right, and you can see here it's gone ahead and selected the face. So we are ready to get to work. And we'll start here with skin smoothing, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. There we go. Then what we want to do is let's take a look at skin smoothing first. And by the way, over here you see these two little icons, and right up here you see these are the featured filters. So these are the two that there's basically three categories with this thing. There's the featured filters, and these are the ones that Photoshop says pretty much are ready to go. I'm guessing maybe they'll still be doing some tweaking and improving on them, but pretty much ready to go. The next category here is beta. And these are ones that they're still working on. The top ones that say beta, you can actually use these right now. These down here are just kind of showing you what's coming. No idea when these will be coming or how good they will be, but you can click on one and it'll show you what it's supposed to do. And if it really does this, that's going to be awesome. It'll be very fun to play with. But right now, all there is an I'm interested. You click on it, and I guess you say why you're interested, because it looks awesome. I don't know. And hit submit, and I guess that tells them maybe they're waiting for enough people to say they're interested. I don't know. But so that's the third category. Not much you can do there. And then the beta. So let's start up here with the feature, which should be the best ones, and we'll start with skin smoothing. You turn it on right there, and it's pretty simple, at least at this point. You really only have two things, blur and smoothness. As you can see, it's already done it right away. We'll come down here. This is our little preview changes thing, and you can turn it. There's the before, there's the after. Now it gives it a very plastic kind of look. Not super crazy about it, but we can obviously play with these sliders, and as you know, I always suggest just going to the two extremes. So go all the way up, see what it does. Very porcelain skin here, but I think like the nose looks a little weird. Come down here to not quite as much. Still doing a little bit. I think that is a little bit better, having the blur all the way down. Same with smoothness. Bring that all the way up to 50. And really smooth. Bring it all the way down. And so you just kind of got to play with those. You know, one thing of note is you will see up here a little, whenever I do something, this little blue circle going, because it's actually doing this processing in the cloud. So sometimes it takes a while to send that image back and forth, and you'll notice a little bit of delay on that. So that's your basic skin smooth. There's only, like I said, there's only two things on it. Are you satisfied with the results? Yes or no? You can cast your vote there, and maybe they will make some adjustments. So I don't know. This might be something if you had maybe a woman who was a little older and was really worried about lines and pores. Probably not as good for a young man, but we can certainly see the effect that it's doing, and we can leave it on for now. Let's bring that smoothness down a little bit. Style transfer. Now this is the first of what will be a trend on some of these. Filters, I'm going to turn it on. These are filters that do look very cool, but you kind of wonder how you're really going to use them in real life. and you see all these things where you come over here and you pick this. And I guess it's taking this style and applying it to your image. And as you can see, it's kind of questionable results. I don't know that I'm super crazy about any of these. Now, it could be one of those deals that every time you have an image that you just don't know what to do with, you come through here, click on a whole bunch of these, and maybe one of them clicks. That's not terrible. And maybe this is because it's a portrait. Maybe these would work better with something that was much more of a landscape or a cityscape or something like that. That's not terrible. It might be a jumping off point for you, but basically it is taking these, here's like a matrix type theme. So I don't know. It looks very cool when you go, oh, I could take this style and apply it to this guy's portrait. But for some reason, I don't feel like that really looks like that. So this is something that personally, I don't know that I will use very much. But it's possible that as they tweak this thing, it will get better. Now, you do have some ways. Let's get back to one that was acceptable. It doesn't hurt our eyes while we're looking at it. Was it this one? I think that's okay. You've got your preserve color here, which is going to go back to the original colors you had, and I think that certainly helps in this one, but that'll give you back your original colors. Whoa, disappeared. Focus your subject. Click on that. And I'm not seeing a huge difference there, but I'm guessing that that is giving more emphasis to him. Style strength, pretty self-explanatory. It's going to let us dial back that effect, which, especially if we're not crazy about the effect, could be a good thing. And this might be a decent way, if you find the right one of these, might be a really good way to do an underpainting if you're going to do some either painter work or painting in Photoshop. You could use one of these to kind of break up the under part and start as your underpainting. So that is a possible use. And brush size is probably going to be how much detail we get into. Let's bring the style strength back up so we can see what we're doing. There's a smaller brush and the bigger brush. Not a huge difference there. Blur the background. Which again, I don't know that that's going to work when you have applied all this stuff. But again, someone probably a lot smarter than me is going to play with this effect panel here and come up with a way of exploiting it into something that is very cool. I just haven't figured it out yet. But if one of you is that person, hopefully you will leave something in the comments and say, hey, give this a try, and let the rest of us know, because I feel like this is one of those tools that you look at and you go, man, that is awesome, and then you go, I don't know how I'm ever going to use that. Well, let's turn it off for right now. Let's turn that off too, because it's creeping me out a little bit. And let's go into the laboratory here and look at some of these beta filters. Again, can't really do much with these down here other than look at what they are. But let's start up here with Smart Portrait. And this has been one that I've been playing around with the most. And again, I feel like a broken record here, but this is going to be one of those that you're going to go, what an awesome feature, and then you're going to think, how on earth am I going to use that? For example, this happiness filter that we can do, where when we click this on, and let's just run it up to 50, let it work here, you'll see that going for a second. And there you go, we can come back to it, and it's definitely giving him a smile. It's done something to the eyes. Definitely making him smile more, but doesn't really look as human anymore. I think it's warped the eyes here. Again, in fairness, these are beta, so they're still working on it, and I'm guessing as more and more people play around with it, since you're doing this in the cloud, maybe they're monitoring what happens. Also start noticing things like this, where it's doubling up things because it's moved him. So that's not going to be as helpful, I don't think. Now, where this could help is if you've got someone who's doing a little bit of a smile and you just want to add just a tiny bit to them. You know, maybe we just come up to 10 and go from just a very plain mugshot type of smile to a little bit. But again, I feel like it's warping that eye. So it's just kind of an odd thing that I don't know for sure how that is going to work. And you've got surprise, anger. You can imagine how these are going to look. Facial age is an interesting one. Now, I don't have a whole lot of people that come in the studio that say, can you make me look a little bit older? But if you did, this would be a super handy filter. Now, it is kind of a fun novelty thing to play with, and you can see right there, I think this actually looks pretty realistic. I've got no idea what this guy's going to look like when he gets older, but that's not terrible. Some things up here that would have to be fixed. Again, here you have some masking issues, but they've done the bulk of the work for you here on the face, and I think that actually looks kind of realistic. And the way I could see you using this is maybe you're doing a composite and you need a really old, weathered man to be the main subject in it, and all you have is someone who's just kind of old, and you do this to really emphasize everything. That would work. Obviously, going the other direction probably be more popular, but won't be as big a difference in this guy because he's relatively young anyways. But that's an interesting one to watch. Gaze is another very interesting one in that what it will do is we've got him right now staring straight back at us. I can roll this. We won't even go all the way. I'm just going to go to 38 to the right. We let it process up here. And it's moved his eyes to the right. Are they perfect? No. But from that to that, in a matter of seconds, is way faster than I could have done it in Photoshop. And then you can come in and clean it up yourself. But it does allow them to look off and things, and I think that is something that is insanely cool, and especially as it gets improved. Again, we're still in beta. But I think that is something that's very interesting, and again could be used in composites or in a portrait when you've got a kid who's looking off to the side and you try and bring the eyes back to the middle. So that's something that, again, is a work in progress but could help. Hair thickness absolutely is something that I get requests for all the time. Just slide him down so we can see his hair. Again, he doesn't need much more thickness, but I think there's a lot of men who would love this, and you can slide that over and it thickens the hair up. Again, it's going to be one of those things, if you go too far, it's going to look silly. But a little of it won't be bad. Head direction. We're going to be able to rotate the head. Let's try going here to the left. There you go. Is it perfect? No. The ear does not look right. But considering how fast it did that, it's certainly an acceptable one, and you could come clean some of this up. If this guy was smaller in a composite and you just wanted to turn his head for some reason, that would be a very quick way of doing it, and at least getting you close, so you could come back and clean up some of these other things. You could probably liquefy that ear back a little bit or distort it, clean up some of these things, and have a pretty realistic head twist, considering, again, it took like 10 seconds to do. Now, light direction is one that I think could definitely be of interest, especially, again, for compositing, because, this guy's very relatively flat lit. You can see from the catch lights that we had a light on this side and a reflector pretty close, but not enough of a ratio to really give him much lighting direction. But if we crank this over here to the left, definitely gives lighter on this side, darkens this side, the before and the after. And that's not bad. Again, I don't know that it's going to work on a close-up like this, but this would be fantastic on, again, a composite or where someone's smaller in the image. And being able to change that light direction, if you've got a scene that's lit from the wrong side that doesn't match your subject, to be able to go in and do something like that. Again, maybe that's just getting you in the ballpark. That's still kind of a very cool thing. Now, I will caution you of one thing in this situation. It's done a decent job of making this look like the highlight and shadow side. However, you've always got to be aware of those highlights. And anyone who looks at this image is going to see that there is a big light source on this side and a reflector here. You can see it right there in the eyes. That's not going to be very believable to have the catch light over here and the light coming from that side. So always be mindful of those eye catch lights before you start playing with the direction. All right, I haven't played around with mask settings very much. Been mostly focusing on these up here, so I'm going to skip this for now and jump back here into the experimental slider just to note this retain unique details. And what this will do if, let's bring this facial age back a little bit. And then going into this unique details, you can bring it all the way back. And I think what you're going to get here is, so here we are at 0, come up to here, let it process, and you can see how much the eyes, it's all but taking that effect off of the eyes. As you can see, if we go to the before and after, it looks to be one of the main things it's doing is protecting those eyes from the effect that you've processed. And so bring this back. Still in beta, so it's hard to really be too judgmental of this, but I do think that the gaze and the light direction are things that could potentially be interesting tools to use. Let's just take a quick look at a few of the others, at least so you're aware of what they are. So makeup transfer. And again, see, this is one that I haven't used yet, so you would just download it, but from what I've seen, and I've watched a couple of videos on this, I don't really have a use for it. But it looks like if you were to go in and Photoshop a lot of things to him, you would be able to take that pattern and do it to the next person. Or maybe if you've had multiple images of the same person and you didn't want to have to keep recreating it, you could take that makeup style and transfer it to the next person. And it's probably like all the rest of these going to be very dependent on what you're doing. Now this one is not going to work as well with this image in particular. But what this will do is allow you to warm up or further blur the background, and we don't really have much of a background here. We could warm it a little bit. You can see that haze kind of wrapping around, making it look like he's in the fog. And it's okay. I just don't know that for a lot of purposes it's going to work really well, or at least work better than what you could do manually going in and masking out your subject and things like that. So it's a bit of a shortcut. A lot of these are going to be kind of shortcut things that you might be better off going the long route on, at least until these get out of beta. Now one thing I want to point out here is this little blue dot here, and this tells you that you've got things applied to him so that you know that there are things working. And see, right now we've got the smart portrait and the depth aware turned on. You can turn either of these off if you want. So let's jump back in here and take a quick look at Colorize. What this is designed for is taking a black and white image and colorizing it. It's not going to work for this particular image, so I'm going to come back to that one with a black and white image here in just a minute. So we'll turn that back off. Super zoom, and this one is not as helpful. You're basically trying to come in on a certain area, zoom in on it, and then affect the detail in it with sharpening and noise reduction. Again, at least while this is still in beta, I think it's a good preview shortcut type of thing, but right now it's probably better off if you really need good detail and things to crop it yourself and then go through and use some of the other tools that we have at our disposal for cleaning those things up. And here's your other JPEG artifact removal, which is kind of a lot of the same thing. I think you've got some Luminar or Topaz filters that will do these probably better than what you're going to have on this. I've played around with both of these on my laptop and just didn't think that they were super effective, or at least not much better than what the results I could get with some of those third-party programs. So for now, I think the betas are what they are. I think they're getting better, or will get better, and certainly very fascinating to look at what some of them do. And especially, I think some of these look like they've got a lot of potential. But again, we've done these things here. Let's go ahead and let me bring this back up, what we've worked on. Go to our smart portrait. Let's go ahead and bring his age up a little bit just so we can see what we're doing. Bring the hair thickness down. Make him look super old. I'm going to turn that off. Let's let it work for a second, and then we're going to, there we go. Take the old man. We'll go ahead and hit OK. Down here, I've got it set to new layer because I want this on a new layer. Hit OK. And here we go. There is the affected image. And there's the face. Again, not sure how this would work, but perhaps in a composite or some sort of a storytelling image, it might be exactly what you need. And a lot of these are work in progress, so I think we got to keep that in mind. So let's switch over really quickly to a black and white image and take a look at that Colorize feature. Alright, now we've got a black and white image pulled up. This will be a great one to try out the Colorize feature. And you can see here what will happen is just bringing it up, it's going to go ahead and give us some color here. And it's not bad, not super. Let's do our before, obviously just black and white, so you can see the difference there. Let's put some nice wood tones into the boat here. And as you can see, you can come over here and start playing around with this. And start tweaking those around until you're happy with the result. This focus color scene color is an interesting one, and it's difficult to tell exactly what's going on here, but like if we bring it all the way over to focus color, you can see it really brings out some of this red here at the front of the boat. If we go all the way to scene color, then you really start seeing some of this. And so I think that is kind of a way of bringing a little bit more to one of the other, and neither one is going to be great. But I feel like we've already got a good amount of color there, so I would probably be inclined to inch that a little bit toward scene. As you can see, it's really done a pretty nice job of going through and adding some color and not letting things bleed over into the subject and things like that. You know, how it knows that this boat would be brown as opposed to green, I don't know, and the water looks kind of like that water you would see, and the trees are green. I got no idea how it's figuring that part out, but it did a pretty good job of getting it close. I mean, I probably would have loved to have had the shirt colored a little bit of more skin tone possibly in here, but again, great jumping off point, and maybe this is something that they will be building on as future versions come around. One thing you can do after you've processed the image on something like this, and we've got the colored one sitting on top of the black and white, if you want to intensify that a little bit, you can drag it down here, make a copy, and then play with this blending mode up here. And sometimes going to some of these, like soft light works really well, gives it even more punch and color, that you can play around with that a little bit and improve your results a little bit more. But as you can see, for a one-click filter, that is not a bad job of adding some color back in there, and so I think it's a great starting point for future work that you can do. So there you have it. There is some very cool stuff and there's some questionable stuff. Some of the features like aging the person or adding hair certainly are going to have some very specific uses of them. I think with some of these the trick is going to be to just kind of file away in the back of your head the concept that that's tools available, and when the right project comes along you go, oh, this is a chance that I can change the light direction, or I can age this person a little bit, and that might be something that will help you at that point. And some of the other ones, like the stylizing one, is just going to be one of those very specific things that you either are going to be using that type of thing or you're not. But it's not like you've got to use all the features in Photoshop. As it stands, I probably use a very small percentage of them in my day-to-day work. Some will be more interesting than others to each individual user. But should kind of give you an idea of how those things work and what to expect, more importantly, coming down the road. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the filters. Is there one of them that you find more helpful than others? Or have you had some success with them, maybe in ways that we haven't even thought of? So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next week, take care. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.